Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Indra. I am your host, Dr. Indra Buckchester. You know what I want to do on the show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want to get you fired up about the power of deception, the devastating impact of deception on society. That's right. We need to be aware. We need to be mindful. We need to be people that are walking around with our eyes wide open about the truth. And that's what our author wants to discuss with us today. His name is Sufian Taha, and I want to tell you a little bit more about him. Now, he holds 2 university degrees, one in physics and the other in engineering. He worked for several years as a professional civil engineer and produced many innovative designs, many of which were unique and won the satisfaction of his clients. Now, at a later stage in life, the author became interested in creative writing and was dedicated much of his time to that endeavor. He spent many years researching the subject of his books, which was in part of his general search for the truth. His many years of interest include, amongst other things, understanding the Creator's humankind project, the purpose of existence in the context of the hereafter, the impact of deception on his inferior life, and the nature of evil, social harmony, and the need of the universalities of the necessities and essentials of life. Now, his main objective is to guide society to attain, amongst other things, tangible wealth, thought which social peace is attained, the leading and genuine happiness, those things that lead us and get us to those places. Well, moreover, he hopes that in exposing what he believes is the truth, that rampant deception can be defeated. So I'm really excited to find out what he believes to be the truth and how we can walk in it. So you know what I'm about to say? Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee, get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Sophia. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Good morning.
Now, I want to ask you the very important question that I always ask my authors before we get started, and that is the title of your book, The Power of Deception. Did you find that the title came to you first and you were able to write about the subject, or did you find that in your writings the title came out of the writings?
Well, actually, the title reflects the notion of the entire book, because we are talking about the essence of deception, which is really in charge of this material or materialistic world, this transient or ephemeral world. And he basically, the character, the antagonist in this novel is called Iblis, which is another name of a very powerful angelical being, and it goes back into the beginning of the creation and the animosity between the progeny of Adam and the progeny of Iblis. So basically, Iblis is really in charge of this materialistic world, and he's really running the show. And he's doing it via deception. And in the book, there is about 25 scenes, and they all talk about the story of creation, or the beginning, or the onset of creation, and how this animosity between the progeny of Adam and the progeny of Iblis came to be. And we experience the manifestation or the impact of it in our lives. And that's why we see so much evil and so much wars and so much agony and so much pain and so much suffering in this existence. It's all attributed to this entity called Iblis. It is in the book. It's a fiction. It's a fictional character, but it is a real character. But the book itself is fiction. I tried my best, to try to bring reality into the book. So in essence, what I'm saying that the main character, which is Iblis, it's a fiction. It's a fictional character in the book, but it is a real character, and it is a very, very powerful, immense in its might, and it's taking, and it's really in charge of this ephemeral world, and that's by a decree or by the leave of the Creator Himself. He gave him that authority to take, or basically He entrusted every evil or a person that inclined to do evil. He entrusted this entity to him, what I'm trying to say, that He's taking hold of them. That's basically why it's called the power of deception.
Now, what is one of the things that you discuss in the book is the Creator. What is your definition of the Creator, and why is it important to adhere to that particular definition?
Yes, I must say that we today, the humanity, we inherited a lot of heritage from the ancient. Now, that heritage, which is basically religions, I must emphasize the latter as religions. By the time they moved through time to us, they have accumulated a lot of man-made attributes or man-made contribution to these religions, and I'm talking about all religions. So what we are receiving today, what we are having today, there is a lot of it that is basically man-made. Now, there is the Creator. The Creator really has nothing to do with what we are having today. That's the so-called religions, because they did not escape. They did not escape the hand of Iblis himself. So that's why there is so much animosity, and there is so much evil, and there is so much strife and fighting and hatred and racism and prejudice and all that among the many religions. Now, to validate my point, I'm getting to your question with regard to the definition of God. I have to give this short introduction. It's important to understand that we are one kind. I mean to say humankind. There is no two humankinds. Very much like we are similar to, let's say, donkey kind, monkey kind, lion kind, rabbit kind, and we are only one kind. And also, by the same token, there is only one Creator. One Creator. The Creator Himself decided to give us status that it is much, much higher than any other of His creation. So basically, we sit at the pinnacle of all God's creation, or the Creator's creation. Now, because of the fact that Iblis has so much to do with this materialistic world, so the religion and the content of them came to his to the inclination of Iblis himself. He has a lot to do with what we receive today. So what I'm basically saying, that in a lot of the religions that we have today, there is a great deal of contribution that came from Iblis himself. What I'm trying to say, there is a great deal of myth they contain, and also a great deal of superstition by the full meaning of it, and I can bet my life on this. And to validate this, and why I'm basing or this assumption basically based on the fact that the Creator had aspired for us to reach the ultimate in piety and righteousness. And this is the objective and the goal, or the ultimate destination of all the religions that originally originated from the Creator himself, piety. Now, if you look at the religious authorities of today's religious authorities, they all call for the killing of their fellow human beings. By itself, it's a crime that cannot be forgiven. You cannot kill a human being, because by definition, a human being, he sat at the top of all creation, and it's so important for the Creator himself. For me, the Creator has an agenda for me as a human being, the same way he has an agenda and a plan for you. And just to validate my point, look at yourself and look at myself. If I look at myself, there is no an identical being, like a human being like me, among the billions of human beings. I am unique. I am like a universe in my own.
Right. So what would you say is the purpose of logic, or the purpose behind the creation of humankind then?
There is I'm talking as an engineer now, because this is my profession. I'm shaped, to think objectively, scientifically, and mathematically, and also to think in terms of practicality. Now, I look at, I put myself in the position of the Creator. I'm a little creator with the letter C, with the little letter C. Now, he is the ultimate Creator with the capital letter C, Creator, and I'm a creator, a human being. Now, I aspire to learn how to create and how to design from the ultimate Creator. So the ultimate Creator taught me to design systems that they are practical, and they have, at the end, they have a purpose that it is solemn and useful, and there is always an aspect of practicality and expediency in the designs themselves. Now, the ultimate Creator, God himself, when he created us, he had a purpose that it is solemn, and it's a very serious purpose. Now, our ultimate objective, not this ephemeral, transient, passing, or fleeting word. This is just, you could tell, because when it comes to time measurement, it's a very, very short, brief period of time. It measures in microseconds when it comes to the time that the universe can be measured on. And so what is really going on here? The Creator had an objective, which is ultimately each one of us will realize. So we are created in essence, and that's the truth, for paradise. Now, paradise, it's a real thing. It exists, and it's vacant. It's empty. It's waiting for people that attain or qualify to have entry to it, and that qualification, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So our ultimate objective.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but it is almost time for us to go to break. So if you would please, can you remind everyone what is the title of your book? Where can we pick up a copy, and how do we follow you online?
Okay, the title of the book, The Power of Deception. There is another one, The Fall of an Empire, and it can be obtained from Amazon.com, or there is a website called The Fall of an Empire book.com, one word, The Fall of an Empire book.com. It can be reached online, and it can be obtained through that website.
All right.
On Amazon.
Well, thank you. Listeners, now you know where you can pick up a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this.
Anne, Camilla, William, and Fred. The four in the Humvee are on a perilous journey, halfway across the country to a tent city near the Mississippi River, a long ways from Boston. Through each bend and turn, they meet some people in need and others who have evil in their souls. Four unlikely heroes in a Humvee on an unlikely trip, the recipe for a captivating story. Grab this book, EMP Casualty by Michael Kravitz.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Bunce-Chester. My guest today is author Sufian Taha, and we are talking about his book, The Power of Deception, the devastating impact of deception on society. So, you know what I'm going to tell you? Go ahead, get comfy again, because we are about to jump back into these questions. So, Sophia, my next question for you is that you talk about something called the freedom of choice that has been granted to humankind. What is that?
Okay. Again, by definition, the Creator, when He creates things, there is always a purpose for them, and they must, if you think in terms of the domain of authority or dominion of the Creator, there is no way that an entity that was created by the Creator Himself can go against the will and the wishes of the Creator, because this is by itself a fallacy or a contradiction. However, in the case of the humankind, there was the way I see it, it was a kind of an experiment to allow an entity to have the freedom of choice, which means it can go against the dictates and the commands of its Creator. And in that case, there is a whole lengthy discussion and background as to the issue of the freedom of choice. It has to go to the onset, the beginning of the creation itself, and this is just very lengthy to go through it, because the character Iblis has a lot to do with it. But anyways, what happened that the freedom of choice enables us again to sit at the pinnacle of all creation. Because of that particular attribute or property that was given to mankind, we are able to have access, or to have entry to paradise, which is the finest and the most magnificent and the noblest place in the whole universe. And it is meant to reward this entity, humankind, once they go through the trial in this earth, in this existence, in this ephemeral, fleeting or transient existence, under the conditions of the freedom of choice, which means they have the freedom to obey without coercion, to obey the command of the Creator, and if they do so, they have entry to the ultimate luxury, which is paradise, if they do that. However, that's the solemnity of it, and that's the seriousness of the property that mankind granted, which is the freedom of choice. If they go against the will of the Creator, then they are in a lot of trouble, because by definition you can't go against the will of the Creator that created you. But in our case, we can. So there is a serious accountability, and there is serious implication to the fact that you disobey the Creator, and the penalty or the cost of disobeying the Creator, it's eternity in the abode of torment, which is hell. And the hell, it is a physical place, exists and real, and it is currently awaiting the people who gain, who by their deeds, by their bad deeds, or by refusing or by contradicting the Creator, they have they manage, they manage to secure a place in the place of torment. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. It's very difficult to comprehend, to understand, but that's
so,
it.
One of the other things that you talk about is money and wealth, poverty and indulgence. What is your definition of that, and why did you come to that conclusion?
With regard to money or wealth, I would like to, if you could repeat the question with regard to money and wealth.
Sure. You talk about that there is a different definition of money or wealth, and you've also spoken about poverty and indulgence. Why do you use the definitions that you use for those words, and how did you come to that conclusion?
Okay, there is no a real ownership or material acquisition in this ephemeral, in this transient world. What happened that by the leave or by the permission of the Creator, we are granted wealth, and I have a lot to say about that, and I can elaborate further. So whatever material means we attain in this world, in this life, it is really granted to us. It's not really by our abilities to attain them. We are I should say, we are programmed, to attain these things, such that we would be able, or the Creator Himself would be able to see how we behave under these conditions. He can, like, not necessarily money. A person can be granted intelligence. He can be granted many other attributes, and the idea to see how he behaves, the person how he behaves under these conditions. And money is the same thing. So what I'm basically saying, people who aspire to be rich, they can dream about being rich, but that only can be attained if the Creator Himself permits it and facilitates the means to attain it. Because everything is programmed and everything is set based on the programming and the planning of the Creator Himself, and we are a part of that. If a person, if the listener knows computer science, he knows what I'm talking about. There is very much like a program, a master program, and we, the individuals, whether we are the human beings, the individual human beings, or the different entities among the other kinds, we are simply like little modules interact with this massive program.
Of that, and having the different types of mind, you talk about a monkey kind and a donkey kind. Why do you believe that the masses are so readily being disparaging or belittling or demeaning themselves when it comes to their mindset or their mentality?
Well, by definition, and that's the truth. We, as mankind, we are supreme in every aspect. We are supreme because we have ingenuity embedded in us. We are supreme because we have intelligence. We are supreme that we can communicate with the Creator. We are supreme because we can understand the surrounding, and we can, as an engineer, I can copy or I can learn from the systems, the natural systems, and I can adapt them to my benefit. And that's because the Creator, He put in my head, structured or hardwired in my head, something called intellect, a human intellect, which rests in basically four pillars. One of them is the expediency in endeavor or achievement or whatever we attempt to do, expediency, and then a causality, cause and effect. I became an engineer because I understand rationale and cause and effect. That's what basically Newton laws, all of them rest on this concept, causality, cause and effect. In fact, the second Newton law rest on that fact that there is for every action there is a reaction, and there is two more pillars, which is accountability for I should say accountability for bad deeds and reward for good deeds. I wanted to reverse them. I want to say reward for good deeds and accountability otherwise. So our intellect rests on that. I'm trying to give you a little bit of introduction to get to your question why the mass is behaving the way they are. So these four pillars are essential for our function as a society, as individuals. So basically, expediency in the effort or the thing that we do, and a causality to understand and rationale for our communicating or interacting with the surrounding, and also accountability for bad deeds and reward for good deeds. However, when we go through life, these concepts or these pillars, they get corrupted because of the society, because of the upbringing. And once they get corrupted as a result of acquiring, counterintuitive theories, very much like the theory of evolution and atheism, they are counterintuitive, and as a result, our intellect becomes corrupt. Then the thought processes, it does not reveal or does not lead to the expected. Now, what happened to the masses? The masses basically they see what the media broadcasts, or they hear what the media broadcasts, and they see and they interact with their surrounding, and all what they see start affecting their intellect. What I'm basically saying, their intellect becomes corrupt as a result of acquiring the primitive norms that the society throws at them, such as superstitions and preconceived notions, prejudice, racism. All this accumulate into their head. Eventually, their intellect becomes corrupt, and they become the similitude of a herd. The establishment takes them everywhere it wants. If the establishment decide to go to war, they follow without questioning. So basically, and then the worst part of it, once they become their intellect becomes corrupt, the Creator Himself deserts them, and He entrusts them to Iblis, their arch enemy, and they become just a herd of sheep, and it's a huge waste. And that's what I'm trying to find. I'm really sorry that I have to say this. I'm not happy about saying it, but this is a reality that I'm trying, to confront and fight and get the masses out of their hibernation and their hypnosis, and let them live up to the expectations of a human being. What is expected of a human being? Each one of us, so valuable to the Creator Himself.
Well, Sufian, we have 1 minute left in the show, and I want to ask you one last question, and hopefully we can get that within this minute time, and that is, for anyone who purchases your book, what is one takeaway that you want for them to have?
Really, I'm not, here to have what you call a sales pitch or a sales drive. I feel for the readers and for the listeners, and I really want to give them, money. I don't want to take from them money, because I'm not in need for money, and the reward that I get from enlightening them, it would be tremendously more valuable than any materialistic gain that I would gain out of it. What I'm really saying, I want them to look after themselves. I want them to realize the expectation or to the potential that embedded in them as human beings, because they are the most precious thing that the universe can accommodate a human being. And to give you to validate my point,
right.
If I finish.
We are just about out of time, and I want to give you an opportunity one last time to remind everyone, what is the title of your book, where can we pick up a copy, and how do we follow you online?
Okay, we talk about two books. One of them, The Power of Deception, and the other is The Fall of an Empire. There is a website dedicated to the fall of an empire. It's called the Fall of an Empire, the Fall of the Empire book.com. And for the other one, you can also get it through Amazon.com. You can order it through the marketing companies such as Amazon.com.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Well, Sufian Taha, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you.
And listeners, thank you for tuning in as well. And as always, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, be blessed in the Lord. Bye-bye.